Okay, welcome back. Chaotically Intolerant, episode, 127, our first Thursday episode. This is a big episode. We're getting ready for football. This is the biggest week of the season by far. No doubt in my mind it is. But the wheel has to be obliged first. We do have Curtis and Michael on, two Hall of Fame nominees. We'll know on Monday if they get in or not. I would say as a CEO, they should, but I can't sway the voters. I am a voter and I won't give out my vote. But this is like the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's horrible. It's just horrible way of doing it, but I want my voters to be as prissy as possible, like the Baseball Hall of Fame. Just constantly having something to say. Something negative to say. Because that's how they are. But we have to oblige with the wheel. What we have on the wheel today, there's FSU, because FSU's always complaining. Immaculate Grid, the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the NFL MVP, Sydney Sweeney, because she just needs to be on there. Sporkle, name an athlete, and then Michael, Alex, or Curtis's choice on the wheel. So we'll do, NFL MVP. This is perfect. Just first thought, who's your MVP? Curtis, I'll start with you.
It's probably going to be Lamar, honestly. I don't necessarily want to give it to Lamar, but I think Lamar gets it.
Yeah, I think the same thing. He has to be at this point. After what we saw against Miami, he has to be. Yeah. Can't not be. Michael, I think his Wi-Fi has gone down.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, it's probably going to go in and out. Mine would have to, I think it would be Lamar Jackson. But that's just based on the fact that the numbers look sexy. And this season is very reminiscent of 2019. A lot of blowout wins, a lot of sexy stats. But I want to see that Lamar can win close games, especially in the postseason. I'd have to look. I'm going off the top of my head, but I think the Ravens have only won one game by less than one score this year. I'm not mistaken. So, but, when you're putting up 56 against Miami, 33 against the Niners, how can it not be? And he just, he rock and rolled all over Brock Purdy when they faced off. So I think that answered that question.
Yeah, the Ravens hit the over on their own on Sunday. So I picked the over for that game, so thank you to the Ravens. Yeah. All right, that was good enough. It's Lamar. Decided. We're the voters now. Let's jump into. I don't want to do specific games. I want to do teams. Some teams don't matter anymore. Others do. We're just gonna start with the AFC East. So right now, the Bills and the Dolphins. That's the marquee game. That's the Sunday night game this week. I'm gonna say this. I feel like the Dolphins losing that bad to the Ravens is almost good for them. That was almost bulletin board material going into this game.
I don't believe that the Dolphins have beat anybody with a winning record this season.
The Dallas Cowboys. It was the Fraud Bowl.
Oh, interesting.
No, I don't think they have.
They got one team.
Oh boy, that's going to be a tough one to think of.
That was been their whole stink this season, is that basically they can't beat anybody good. They lost to the Bills already this season.
Yeah,
after putting up 60 or whatever, 70 on the Broncos, they turn around and lose to the Bills.
Yeah.
Honestly, do the Dolphins have anything to play for other than, I guess, the division?
Well, the number 2 seed, they would drop.
Yeah.
I assume they would drop
Dolphins
into the
playing
5 or the 6 seed if they did lose.
Chance to be home for the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, but they're going in the wrong direction. And the Dolphins are the kind of team that when they lose, man, do they mail it in? They really do. The Dolphins look very sexy when they win, and they look like, a celebrity who gets caught without their makeup when they don't. It's pretty gnarly. And you cannot trust a team like that in the postseason. You just can't. So I want to apologize to Mike Tyson, who made the first bet at Hard Rock in Florida. His bet was Miami Dolphins to win the Super Bowl. That's going to be wasted money.
Poor Mike. He's
Mike
got
Tyson.
enough from all the weed he's selling anyways.
That's all right. I just like that video of him and Ric Flair on the street smoking blunts together. I just like, why can't I not be around for that? Like, what is this?
Ric Flair gets everyone going.
It's true. It's the Nature Boy.
Yeah. The Buffalo Bills, I feel like, again, this feels like a game to me. Hard to beat a division team twice, especially the Miami Dolphins are a good team. They aren't a great team. They're good. It's hard to beat a good team twice in the same season. And I feel like the pressure going into this game is actually all on Buffalo. You're on a winning streak at this point. You've won 4 in a row. You were dead. Now you're coming in. Everyone thinks you're the shit now. And I feel like everything is on Josh Allen. And in the past, when the pressure's been on Buffalo, they fold. So that's why I feel like this is honestly the Dolphins game. The pressure is now all off the Dolphins to do anything because they got their ass kicked. And a lot of teams, you'll see them get their ass kicked, and then they'll come out and they'll play pretty good the very next week because of that. They learn things from that. I'm curious how Mike McDaniel will respond to just getting your absolute teeth kicked in by the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really respond well to anybody who's got any sort of idea of how to figure him out. It seems like when teams come in with a really good game plan to counteract what Mike McDaniel's been doing all season, there's not really much of an adjustment. He's just like, it's flukes that's happening, that they're better than us right now. It's flukes, I tell you. He's basically like just so committed. Everything that's wrong has to be a flaw of like just pure luck. And it's gonna be an early exit for the Dolphins, I think. I mean, that's purely why I want the Texans to not win the division so we can play the Dolphins. I'd rather play the Dolphins. If we win the division, we're playing the Browns.
That's a tough one. The Browns would be tough. We can have a little discussion about them later. And then the other side of the AFC East, the ugly side, the gross side. This is going to be Bill Belichick's last game as a New England Patriot. It's going to be Bill Belichick's last game coaching against the Jets as a Patriot. I'm going to take the Patriots by about 10 million points this week.
Yeah. I mean, they've been playing very well as of late. Not necessarily like world beaters, but they've been playing a lot better and significantly closer to what the standard of New England's Patriot way is. But Bill Belichick's on his way out. I actually saw something today where he was talking about, he's like, I don't know what the future holds for me, but I treat every day the exact same. Every week is the exact same. That's me. And I'm just like, all right, Bill. All right. I can respect that.
That's Belichick. That's Belichickian for you. That's exactly. Michael, you got anything on Patriots Jets?
Well, I had to rejoin. I heard Belichick. I think I missed most of that.
I like his wall.
What was the topic? Sorry, guys.
Patriots Jets.
Oh, I mean, well, it's the longest winning streak that one team has against another currently now, right? Because Kansas City ended its hex over Denver, and so New England hasn't lost to the Jets. I want to say since that Eric Decker overtime touchdown game in 2015. But like, if you're the Patriots, what's the difference if you finish 5-12 or 4-13? Other than, well, no, you can't. They can't finish out of the basement. I mean, they could say they swept the Jets, which is all good and fine. There's not much to say. I mean, I don't think they're going to learn any more about their awful quarterback situation by this one game, unless Bailey Zappi throws for like 600 yards and 8 touchdowns. I wouldn't expect that.
He's still cutting in and out. We'll move to the AFC North. We did talk Ravens. The Cleveland Browns are officially in the playoffs. Congrats to the Cleveland Browns. Are they the scariest team right now? Scariest wild card team? I mean, I feel like they are.
Yeah, it's really not even close. Like the scariest wild card, like you got the Bills are in one, the Colts are in another, and then the Browns. Joe Flacco's playing crazy right now, and their defense is like, what do you even do against that? Like, how do you stop all of that? And their secondary is probably the best. Like the corner unit alone is probably the best trio in the league.
Yeah,
they're definitely, if not the most terrifying, they're right up there with whoever else you would put up there. Like probably the Ravens, I guess. So.
Yeah. The Ravens are. I think they kind of forced my hand on saying they're the elite team at this point. I wasn't really big on being in on the Ravens. But now, I mean, I kind of have to. They've kicked the shit out of everyone they've seen. They've stepped on their throats. It's not even competitive. I mean, the Niner game was kind of competitive at the end. You know, the 49ers were trying to come back, but there was nothing really there. The Ravens are in a very flawed league this season. They are the best team. And I really wouldn't. I feel like if this Ravens team existed any other year, they wouldn't be the number one team, but right now they have to. And the Browns, I think we did lose Michael. Let me just text him real quick and tell him we'll try for next week.
In the meantime, you can check out Alex's OnlyFans page. No,
oh, here he comes. He was coming in right at the perfect time.
Can you guys hear me? I'm just going to use my phone. It seems like
that's good.
Better.
Yeah,
you're talking Ravens, Browns. I can tell you as a Ravens fan, I think the team that's scariest right now is the Browns in terms of, obviously from the Ravens standpoint, you have that familiarity, division rival. You've got, of course, a quarterback that led you to a Super Bowl. That'd be quite a juicy storyline. Ravens have already lost to the Browns in Baltimore, and they're kind of playing with house money at this point because they're going in as a wild card. They're going in with their fourth quarterback, even if it is the guy that's won a Super Bowl. Defense is just fast, aggressive, and my take on the Browns is just they're having one of those years where they're winning games in the most improbable fashion, and sometimes that doesn't translate to the playoffs, and it's just because it's pure luck or it's not sustainable, and sometimes it's just an indicator that it is your year. Are they going to be kind of like one of these magical Patriots teams in the early dynasty, or are they going to be the 2001 Bears with Shane Matthews and Jim Miller that were winning games on pick sixes by Mike Brown? And, of course, I'm aging myself here, but, the Browns win close games. They win with defense. They win high scoring, low scoring. The smartest thing they can do this week against the Bengals is who they've dominated, and with the game meaning nothing for both teams, is get through that game healthy, treat it almost like a bye week. My prediction is the Browns will absolutely win at least one playoff game against that AFC South winner. Hopefully, you guys, it's not that team. I mean, it might be that team, but I just have a feeling it's shaping up to be a good wild card round for the Browns.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't want to play the Browns. I don't either. If the Jags can just win their game and the Texans win their game, I'm cool. We're way above expectations. We're cool.
This is the anti-Browns. Like, they are the anti-Browns. They win games they should lose, and they don't lose games they should win. The Browns normally will lose a game they should have won. They should have, in Browns history, they would have lost to the Bears on that Hail Mary that somehow just bounced out of his hand. But I think the curse breaking is Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is the absolute curse breaker. They said, you need to go and get the guy that tormented you for years. He even tormented him on the Jets last year with that massive comeback. And now the sky's the limit, I think, for this Browns team. I could see them beating anybody in the league because they just have the right juju right now, and it's so rare that the Browns actually do have the right juju. But I'm afraid for Browns fans because they could go into the playoffs and they could just have another. They could go up against another like Elway-esque. They could have another the drive
or the fumble, yeah. And I referenced that 2001 Bears team, and one of those wins was a Hail Mary that the Bears caught against the Browns on the final play of regulation that set up that pick six in overtime. And that was a year of just good juju all the way through for the Bears until the postseason. We'll see if it's the same thing for Cleveland here 22 years later.
Yeah.
But what curse did the Browns break, though? Did they break the curse, like the team triangle that was created? So the Colts leave Baltimore, travel to Indianapolis. Baltimore doesn't have a team now. So Cleveland moves in the 90s and becomes the Ravens. And then the early 2000s, the Browns come back. Is that the curse broken? Because I think it would make sense because you got to take somebody from Baltimore and send him to Cleveland.
And the Browns already beat the Colts this year as well. And they beat the Ravens. This is getting way too weird. They must have had some sort of seance.
Yeah, they did. They probably did exactly the same thing that the Jeff Daniels and what's his name did for the Lions. Yeah. Oh yeah, Jeff Daniels and Peyton. Probably the same thing, just with a different Cleveland area celebrity.
Now the Pittsburgh Steelers. Congrats to Mike Tomlin. You have another winning record. Clap it up for Mike Tomlin. Winning record of the year award.
No.
Clap it up. He has the winning record. The Steelers can somehow get into the playoffs with a loss. Obviously, winning is more important. But if you lose, it's not the end of the world for the Steelers. I'll read off their clinching scenario here. Okay. Steelers win and a Bills loss, they will get in. Steelers win, Jaguars loss or tie, they will get in. Steelers win, Texans Colts tie, they will get in. Steelers tie, Jaguars loss, Texans Colts doesn't end in a tie, they will get in. Or a Jaguars loss, Broncos win, Colts Texans doesn't end in a tie. They will also get in no matter what happens. That fifth one is the most reasonable scenario, in my opinion.
The Broncos winning, the Jaguars losing,
and Texans Colts doesn't end in a tie. Yeah.
Wow, I fell asleep halfway through that. But remember a couple of years ago, wasn't it the Raiders and the Chargers? If it had ended in a tie, it would have knocked the Steelers out of the playoffs, and the Raiders tried to give the Chargers a playoff berth, and Brandon Staley said, no, I don't want to keep my job after 2023, so just give that one away.
Yeah.
I mean, as a Ravens fan, I mean, I kind of tip my hat, kind of, like a little bit, like Fernando Rodney, I put it to the side a little bit for the Steelers. But I could have seen this coming because they played horribly for 3 weeks, the Steelers. Like, your Colts flattened them. They've been flattened by the Texans. The whole AFC South has kind of steamrolled them this year, except for Tennessee. The Steelers are the New York Yankees, right? The Yankees they squeaked by to go 82-80 this year. And all for what? So that they could just say they continued their winning record? I mean, is there any scenario you guys see where the Steelers do anything other than waste a playoff spot if they get in?
No. They were one of the worst 11-0 teams in history.
2020.
And now they're one of the worst 9-7 teams, I think, in NFL history. They're awful. I mean,
it's completely irrelevant to me if they make the playoffs. The fact that the roster is what it is, and Mike Tomlin continues to get wins as a coach, I don't care if they're wasting a playoff spot. I mean, like, just how?
Yeah.
The amount of bailouts that defense is given, they should be working for the government.
I want to see a Browns-Steelers playoff game just so I can watch Mason Rudolph run away from Myles Garrett with a helmet in his hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all I want. Bengals, not much to say. They go down with a fight. They do. I was sitting in a bar just screaming for the Bengals to lose this game because there was a way that if the Colts won, they beat the Texans, they would still not get in if the Bengals happened to win out, along with a few other teams winning out. So the Bengals were the most likely team in that scenario to lose a game, and they did, giving me a heart attack, but they did. I guess good effort, right? You showed up, you tried to play. but I don't have much else for them, really.
Ditto.
Yeah.
No, same.
AFC South, I'm going to say possibly the biggest game in AFC South history is going to be on Saturday Night Football. I mean, that's exciting. Two teams that were not expected to do anything all year. I picked us to win 5 to 7 games. We've already hit that mark. Congratulations. I'd probably pick the Texans to do around the same. And they're going to be playing for a playoff spot no matter what. Even if things don't work out with the Jacksonville game. But this Colts, and I can't be on the internet during the game. I'm going to be too scared, too nervous.
No, I feel you. I just did my podcast before this, and I was so hyped. I'm ready for this weekend. Like, give me Saturday already. I just want this game to be rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much fun. The Texans.
My dad won our fantasy league, and he's standing in my doorway right now trying to get me to introduce him as the fantasy football champion. Yeah, now he's walking away because I called him out on it. Oh no, he took that as a challenge now. Go away. We're biggest game of the week.
Who's got the NFL mind in the family?
Okay.
That was a fun laugh. Your dad's
Love
a fun
you, Dad.
guy. I can tell that.
He is. I don't even. I can't say much about this Colts Texans game because I think both teams are schizophrenic, and I guess maybe that's I don't know, anyone who's schizophrenic listening to this, sorry, but that's what these teams are. I mean, the Colts, they don't show up against a horrible Falcons team and they get shredded in the secondary. Aiden O'Connell picked them apart. That's going to be the problem. And I mean, CJ Stroud is a great quarterback. So great quarterbacks against this Colts secondary is not a great combination. I have the utmost confidence that the Colts will collapse, but I think it's a little bit of a unstoppable force versus a movable object when it comes to the Texans' history of collapse in big moments.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go back to the last time we were relevant, which was the playoffs in 2020 or something. 2019.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, we lost to the Chiefs after being up 24-0. I was on my pod. I was actually just talking about the Colts defense. They're not actually that bad. Like, they're middle of the road in passing defense. They're number 5 in sacks.
Sacks. Oh, our line is very good.
Yes,
our line is very good.
Where's the? Oh, here we go. They have more interceptions than the Texans do. Houston's got 14. Indianapolis has got 15. They've allowed 19 touchdowns, which puts them in a tie for 9th or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their defense does pretty solid against the pass. It's just they're on the field a lot.
It might be. I think it just has to. It's the cover 3. It really is. It's the prevent defense in like the biggest situations, which I don't know who's to blame for that. You have to blame Gus Bradley for at least part of it, for the play calling.
Well, I brought this up on my podcast. I asked Jeff to rank the linebackers, the defensive linemen, and the secondary with letter grades. Defensive linemen, A. Linebackers, B. He almost went A. We just didn't do a plus system. And then he gave the secondary high D or a C. Now, we're just observers. We're not actually involved in the organization. But if we can tell that the secondary is not that good, and they're producing, 15 interceptions, only allowing, the 16th most yards in the air, and the defensive line is producing, 5th most sacks in the NFL. The defense is playing pretty solid, all things considered, and that's predominantly because of this team. He's not bringing outside pressure because the front four is getting it done. And I think I've definitely been critical of him, and Jeff has been critical of him, Gus Bradley, for not blitzing enough when the front four isn't getting home. And to that end, yeah, I agree. You got to mix it up. But at the same time, when your secondary is your weakest element, you've got to do things to help. And by allowing the linebackers and the secondary to just be in coverage, you're helping your secondary a lot more. It also helps when your pass rush gets there.
So I'll say, I mean, obviously numbers don't lie. So like the defense has obviously been a lot better than expected. I would like to know like inside of 5 minutes left in the game, or maybe in the fourth quarter, what they're doing, because I feel like the first quarter and the third quarter they're a lot better than especially in crunch time. Again, they may be tired. It seems to me that especially with young quarterbacks, they're not sending pressure when they need to. And I understand you got to help the secondary, but when the secondary isn't getting the job done in those crucial moments when you're sending 4, how much worse can they be when you're sending 5? Because, I mean, Taylor Heineke picked us apart. Aiden O'Connell was they were picking us apart downfield all game. I felt like almost every single 15 to 20 yard pass was like an automatic. They picked up like a couple 3rd and longs on screen passes too.
The difference would be a 60-yard bomb for a touchdown versus a 20-yard gain. That's what you're weighing as, because let's just say Heineke makes the right read on the blitz, because you're supposed to throw into the blitz. He makes the right read. That dude's not there because he's blitzing. Gone. If they don't blitz, dude's there. He's home. 20-yard gain.
Yeah,
it's a bend but don't break defense.
Yeah, it's always been his style too, Bradley. Yeah. And I liked it for a while, but then like we really started to build the trenches.
Yeah.
And you see what they're able to do, and it's like, why can't we do better? Like Jalen Jones being available at the deadline, at this past deadline, and not going after him, knowing that your number one corner is gone, and you're down to like Tony Brown or Troy Brown, whatever the hell his name is.
You mean Jalen Johnson?
Or Jalen Johnson, sorry.
Yeah.
And you're down to Troy Brown or whoever, like a good special teamer was, but he was having to play corner because our depth was so bad. Yeah. And now there's arrests. Like there's Drew Ogletree just got arrested for domestic violence. Like what is going on in the locker room? Because there's been so many suspensions. It's crazy. I don't know what's going on.
I just imagine, Jim Irsay walks in with a cigar and a full bottle of whiskey and it's just like, boys, let's get wild tonight. And then they just kind of go where the night takes them.
That could be what happens. Mike, you have any thoughts on Colts Texans? We took a little much of your shine there.
No, should be a really fun game. I mean, you don't know what to expect. You don't know which of these teams is going to show up. Could end up as I can't imagine it's not a good game. You know, sometimes you say you're like, oh, this should be a good game. You don't really know because it could be 28-7. But
yeah,
I just feel like the way these teams play, neither of them want to lose, and then there might be parts of the game where neither of them want to win either. And so somebody lets somebody back in. But I don't know. I kind of like the Texans mojo getting C.J. Stroud back. I mean, and, boy, did they put a pummeling on Will Levis and the Titans. And it's not really saying much. But I just like, you had 2 first-year coaches, very little expectations. You've got a backup quarterback for the Colts. You've got a rookie quarterback for the Texans. And here they are with a chance to, both teams are trying to get to 10 wins, right? And possibly win a division or at least get into the playoffs. This is, I think the NFL made the right move putting this one in prime time for sure. And kind of a good way to start off the week. Should be fun. I'm looking forward to it just for you guys, for your sake too. But I think it's going to be a fun football game.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned mojo. I'll counterpoint that with this. C.J. Stroud recently said on some vlog or YouTube or something that Indy is a trash city. Now, this game is in Indy. I can't imagine this place is not going to be rocking. So I'm going to counterpoint your mojo with my mojo, and that Indy is pissed. Indy is pissed. Now, I don't know. They're also the nicest fan base in the league, apparently. So I don't know how we're gonna parlay that into something.
I don't know.
Well, you've had players who have torched their own cities. I remember Aubrey Huff trashing Baltimore when he played for the Orioles. So at least he wasn't trashing his own city.
Yeah. Oh man.
Texans or Jaguars, Titans. Titans. Possibly Derrick Henry's last game as a Titan. Most likely Ryan Tannehill's last game as a Titan. Possibly Mike Vrabel's last game as a Titan. They might try and they're either going to lie down and say fuck you to the Colts and the Texans, or they can say fuck you to the Jaguars for stealing the division last year and go out and beat the shit out of them. I feel like Mike Vrabel is the type of guy to say, fuck you, you took our division, we're going to win, and we're going to go out with a bang.
I agree. Mike Vrabel is definitely the kind of coach that would say that, but this team is the kind of team that shows up and says, I don't know how to football. I mean, if you don't believe me, just go and watch Andre Dillard at left tackle. 2 back-to-back plays last week. He let Will Anderson just, like, woo him. Like, I don't even know a better word to describe it. It was just, woo, like, go. Get out of the way. And that's been the story with the Titans all season. Doesn't matter if it's offensive line, whoever. Derrick Henry's had a Derrick Henry season, but it's not like crazy Derrick Henry numbers. He just barely passed 1,000. This is a bad Titans team. I expect the Jaguars to mollywop these boys and send the two-tone blue packing.
I don't know. I mean, there's part of me that says that, yeah, and that was as bad as they could have played the Titans last week. But Mike Vrabel, he comes off. He's kind of like a 6th grade bully. He's kind of one of those guys. Probably, he's fun when he's your friend, and you hate him when you're on the other side. Like the Titans haven't committed to a full rebuild yet, and to me, they still look like a team that just they don't know what they want to do. They're kind of afraid to rip that Band-Aid off and try to start all over. So they're in this kind of rut where they 5-11. But hey, a couple weeks ago they beat the Dolphins in Miami, right? They were down 14 with you figured no passing offense. They were going to come back and win that game, and they did. And is there anything that makes you think Jacksonville can just walk over? I mean, they did it to Carolina, but I feel like Carolina's in another stratosphere.
I feel like they didn't really walk over Carolina either. That was a field goal happy game.
Right,
more than
right.
anything.
And you have a backup, maybe you have Trevor Lawrence playing, but how healthy is he? And all the pressure's on Jacksonville. I don't know. Jacksonville's definitely the better team, but yeah, if this is in fact, I don't think it's going to be Mike Vrabel's last game, but it definitely could be Derrick Henry's last game, and maybe Ryan Tannehill's. So they're, if the Titans have any pride, then maybe they come up with a good effort, and we remember the Titans for a day.
Otherwise, they are forgotten.
Right.
Point differential. Before we move to the West, I just saw these numbers. Who do you think leads the South in point differential right now?
Houston.
That's correct. At plus 20. In comparison, other division leaders, the Dolphins are at plus 112. The Bills are at plus 133, which they're in second place. The Ravens at plus 210. The Browns are at plus 51. The Kansas City Chiefs are at plus 76. So hilarious AFC South parity.
Subtract 50 for Miami, though. That was one game.
That's true. We did forget about that. AFC West, this is the one I think we can kind of skip over. Denver is basically preventing any free agent to ever want to come there. Vegas, they're just having fun. It seems like they're having a lot of fun. The Chargers aren't even having fun and they're bad. At least the Raiders are having fun and they're bad. And the Chiefs are not having fun, but they're kind of good.
Well, I'm going to jump in just because the Chiefs, here's the thing that kind of is getting lost with the Chiefs. They got the 3rd best scoring defense in the league, number 1. And number 2, they are the only team in the NFL that has not given up 30 points in a single game this year. And so what's scary about that is if the offense figures it out, and I don't know if there's anything to say that like any of the receivers are just going to ever take over, right? They're still going to have to, Andy Reid's going to have to dig deep into that playbook. Although, the reports were that he really simplified it this past week and they lean heavy on Pacheco, but Kansas City's got a defense this year. I mean, they've had a defense before. It's not like they just won the Super Bowl by scoring 100 points, but I don't know. Chiefs defense, I mean, that could be, if the offense can figure it out, they could be a dangerous team in the postseason because it hasn't been pretty
at times in the regular season, and they haven't been great at home. But I wouldn't sleep on them making a run.
Yeah, the Chiefs are definitely a little better than we think. The defense is definitely the one thing that's been constant for them all season. The other, well, I guess two things: defense and drops, because they lead the league in drops. Their offense has got like, if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm pissed. Like, how do we have all these dudes in here? But we're paying millions of dollars to. I took several different contract renegotiations, restructures, or whatever, just to bring some of these dudes in, and they can't catch the ball. What are we doing? I would be so irate. And then I'd be asking Travis Kelce why Taylor Swift is not at every freaking game. Because they just tend to do better when she's there. I don't know why. I don't know.
Travis has been way on the down when she's there, but overall, I think they win.
Yeah. Travis doesn't play well when she's there. You know. What's the... I guess he's a grower, not a shower. You know what I mean?
Something like that.
Yeah. Like, it's like a...
He's a grower, not a shower.
Yeah. It's like performance anxiety. There we
go. The Chiefs I think they have the worst wide receiver room since I think it was the 2020 Packers. The most common denominator here, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So I saw him drop like an easy first down too late in the game last week. That was just maybe the pass was a little behind him, but all he had to do was just go back here, just put those hands out and just hold on to it, and he just couldn't do it.
Well,
we also saw Tyreek drop one right in the end zone, which he's thinking about Patrick Mahomes. He was thinking about the Chiefs. He was like, man, I wonder what would have happened if I stayed with the Chiefs and then ran that route and dropped it. And he was like, well, I'm glad I'm in Miami.
Yeah, if you believe in tone setters, that was one for that game. But you mentioned the 2020 Packers, and they didn't have a lot at the receiver position. They went 13-3 and were, almost rallied to beat the Bucs in the NFC Championship game. So there's nothing to say that the Chiefs can't, transform into more of a, ground and pound offense. Because, man, this Pacheco guy, boy, does he run angry, and they can use him in the receiving game. And he could be the X factor, the guy that they really lean on to help stabilize the offense in the postseason, especially if they got to go on the road, which, it's a good chance they will, although it'd be a very Chiefs-like thing if they found a way to host another AFC Championship game as a 3 seed because the Ravens, Dolphins, or Bills get knocked out at home. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened because keep in mind the Chiefs have hosted championship games twice as a 2 seed in 19 and 21, so every other year, so we might be due. But and then the Chargers, is there anything to say on the Chargers? They're just pathetic, and I think the only thing they've done right all year was fire Brandon Staley.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they need to bring in OC head coach, like just Ben Johnson, go to the Chargers. Somebody help Justin Herbert.
Absolutely. The NFC East, we have two juggernauts and two polar opposite of juggernauts here. The Cowboys and the Eagles. I think it is win and you win the division for the Cowboys. And the Eagles they're not what they used to be. They're not last year. People are calling for Nick Sirianni's head now. How is this turned so quickly? I understand it's a down year for them, but you can't dance. Just keep playing musical chairs with head coaches. That's just not how this league works. And I understand calling for the OC's head, but Nick Sirianni, like, come on, let's be real. This is just Eagles fans being Eagles fans to call for his head. I think Dallas. Nobody's going to the NFC Championship game out of the NFC East. I'll say that.
Unless somebody takes out San Francisco like the Rams, that's the ticket.
That's possible. Yeah. Very, very possible. A division game. I mean, you never know. You absolutely never know. That's all I have on the NFC East. It's really not that interesting, actually, the NFC East.
I just want the Rams to win.
That would be nice. Has anything come, from Jalen Hurts' illness? I mean, has that been a factor at all about maybe why he struggled a little bit these last few weeks? But obviously the defense has been just porous.
Yeah.
And like it just, this is why it's been almost 2 decades since a team has repeated as a Super Bowl champion. I know the Eagles weren't a Super Bowl champion, but it's just so hard to sustain that level. What they have, like 72 sacks or something last year.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I mean, the law of averages has to get you. And you said it, Alex. Eagles fans being Eagles fans they're 10-1, right? 11-1, 10-1 a few weeks ago, and they're still 11-5. If you said, well, we made the Super Bowl last year, we're 14-3, we'll probably regress a little, we'll be 11-5. Oh my God, you're still 11-5, but yeah, it's trending in the wrong direction. And if you look at the stats in the Cardinals game, what the Cardinals put up like almost 450 yards, and it shouldn't have even been that close. You had that bad pick six, and we were watching that game, Alex. It just looked like Philly was getting manhandled.
Yeah,
manhandled, kind of like Dallas does sometimes on the road, but Philly got manhandled at home. By the way, Arizona has beaten both Philly and Dallas this year. So how good can either of those teams be?
They did blow the lead to the Giants as well, correct?
They did. Yeah. Almost. Well, yeah, almost. They think they got down to like 2 points or something, but
Jesus.
No, I thought they ended up losing that game.
The Giants won.
No,
Yeah.
the Eagles beat the Giants. That was the one win.
Giants.
No. I'm talking about Cardinals.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you guys were talking about Philly. Yeah, the Giants came back from like 28-7 down. I mean, Arizona.
It was their biggest comeback in franchise history, which was hilarious because it was like a 21-point comeback.
Yeah, hard to believe. And Arizona went into Pittsburgh, pushed the Steelers. Well, I don't know if that's saying much. They just like playing in Pennsylvania, I guess. But
world beaters.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis, you got anything?
No, I think we're good.
NFC North. Lions have clinched the NFC North for the first time in their franchise history.
Woohoo!
Last time they did it was the NFC Central, and it was 1993. So party like it's 1993 Detroit. They might have to play Matt Stafford too in the playoffs, and they will lose that game. That is a Detroit way to lose it. They'll probably play the Saturday night game on the wild card, or that wild card game. I would assume it would be the Saturday night game.
Yeah.
The Packers and the Vikings. I mean, the Bears are dead. They were dead. They needed a tie between the Packers and Vikings. I think the Bears should stick with Fields for one more year, take Marvin Harrison Jr. and say, okay, this is definitively it. This is your last chance, because I don't think Caleb Williams is the, quote, must-get draft pick that we think he is. And I don't have anything fun to say about the Vikings or Packers. I guess it was cute when the Vikings were going on a run. That was cute, right?
Yeah. Well, you could spend
jobs.
Yeah, you spend 20 minutes now reciting everything that needs to happen for the Vikings on Saturday and Sunday for them to get into the playoffs. But I would say this about the Bears. They remind me a little bit of last year's Lions, right? They got a terrible start. Everyone's calling for the coach. I mean, because the Lions were 1-7 last year, finished 9-8. The Bears, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was bad. 2-7, 2-8, something like that. And they're playing really well. They got the number one pick in the draft, which as you said, Alex, they probably should trade. We'll see, or they take Marvin Harrison. But they got a chance to do exactly what the Lions of last year did, which is go to Lambeau Field and knock off the Packers to sort of cap that great second half. Lions did it at Lambeau. And then you've got Detroit playing Minnesota. And by the way, weird stat of the day, NFC North teams in division games on the road are 8-2. So the road teams have had the advantage, right? And then the Bears have never beaten the Packers recently. It's kind of like Jets Patriots. Yeah. So that'd be a big milestone for the Bears to win that game. And the Lions are still playing for maybe a second home playoff game, because if they can win, they would need Dallas to lose to the Commanders and Philly to lose to the Giants. It's a stretch, but the way those teams have played lately, why not? If Detroit wins, gets the 2, that'd be a big deal. So at least they got somewhere to go up. But if not, home playoff game against Matt Stafford, bring it on.
I don't know why that started playing. That was weird. Did you guys hear that?
That was the Emmy music cueing me off the stage. I was just going on too long, when you're at the Academy Awards.
Yeah. kudos to the Lions. This is the most hyped they've been since Barry Sanders. Not a whole lot.
That's fair.
Not a whole lot going on between then and now, but look, the NFC North, somebody had to win it, and the Lions have definitely been the only team that's consistently trended upwards the last couple seasons. The Bears, I don't necessarily think that Justin Fields' play has warranted another shot. He's graded out consistently as one of the league's worst passers, an elite runner of the football. Absolutely. I think for the peak Justin Fields, he's going to have to pull a Terrell Pryor and change positions. It's the only thing that makes sense. We know he's an athlete. Let's just let him do athletic things.
I would like to see him just with an offensive-minded head coach. I think he's one of the guys where I think he really can be good, but he's got to be surrounded by a lot of guys. I mean, I don't think it's
Philadelphia.
Yeah, exactly. Do the Jalen Hurts thing with him. Not really the Lamar thing. Lamar's done it all on his own. But yeah, I think if you give him the right opportunity, he'll succeed. But he clearly can't do it on his own, at least from what we've seen so far. He just doesn't have the physical ability to do that.
Yeah.
NFC South, the second most fun South in the NFL. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, first off, is my comeback player of the year. I mean, I think the Bucs were calling for Kyle Trask to be the starter in training camp. Like the team was, the players. And he has just brought this Bucs team. I mean, I know it's 8-8. A lot of people are going to say it's not that big of a deal, but for what this Bucs team was last year, 8-8's pretty damn good, I would say. I mean, this is what Brady did too. And they're also the most fun team, I think, that could come out of the NFC South. The rest of them, boring as shit. I don't want to see the Saints or the Falcons on my screen on playoff Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, but the Falcons are sneaky good on defense. They can stop a run, and they're not terrible.
They're boring.
Pass, but their offense is the most bipolar thing I've ever seen since high school. It's God, and then the Saints are like, if they could ever figure out how to use Derek Carr, they might be something.
They hate their quarterback.
Yeah, because he's not Drew Brees.
Yeah.
It's like, just be Drew Brees.
It's not hard, man. Just be Drew Brees.
Be Drew Brees. What are you talking about? How is this difficult?
Dennis Allen, I think also record-wise, is one of the worst coaches in the league in his tenure. Like, just bad. I don't know how he's had a job so long.
I don't know how he got the Raiders job before that.
Yeah.
A few years ago, he was the Raiders head coach.
Well, anybody can get that Raiders job. That is not...
That's true.
Not saying much.
That random red-haired ESPN commentator, he was their head coach for a second.
Yeah, he drove a victory lap around Kansas City when they beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
There it is. Attaboy. Oh,
yeah.
God.
Mike, do you have anything on the NFC South?
Well, I got to pump the brakes on the Bucs now, because I was touting them as kind of a sleeper team, and they just laid an egg. Although, in fairness, there's probably a part of them that realized, hey, we don't need to win this game. We still just need to beat Carolina. So maybe they treated this as their de facto bye. Baker showed some toughness, man. And, you say what you want about the guy. He's underperformed certainly as a number one pick. But if they win Sunday, or they play Sunday, right? If they beat Carolina, they will still match last year's win total with Brady, which I don't know that a lot of people would have expected that. If you're asking who of the potential teams in the NFC South could make a run, Curtis said the Falcons. Maybe, there's some talent there, but it's hard to trust them, hard to trust the Saints. I still think Todd Bowles, not great. I know, Alex, you're not a big fan of Todd Bowles, or you have a friend who's not a big fan of Todd Bowles, but I still would lean towards the Bucs just because they have some guys with Super Bowl experience recently that have been part of playoff wins, right? They also won a playoff game against the Eagles 2 years ago. We'll know exactly who the Bucs are, how they come out on Sunday. Do they step on the neck of Carolina as they should? Because Carolina kind of came back on them first time they played. And if not, between the Falcons and Saints, I would still lean towards the Saints having a little more of a chance in the playoffs. But it's just, I mean, how many years? The NFC South is it's just hard to watch. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's been like this it feels like since Drew Brees retired.
Breeze and Brady? Well, Breeze, yeah, more so.
I think even before that, there really wasn't much to write home about them. I mean, there was the Panthers, and then like the Saints just kind of won that division by default for a while.
Right.
I guess like the Cam Newton Panthers, that was probably the best time because you had the Cam Newton Panthers, the Drew Brees Saints, Matt Ryan Falcons,
yep.
And then you had the Jameis Winston Bucks, which were fun. They were a fun team to watch.
He kept both teams in the game. Yeah, he was great.
Yeah. 30-30, second 30-30 quarterback.
Yeah.
2019, and prompted the arrival of Thomas Brady.
I watched him throw for the NFL record in passing yards in a single game against the Colts in 2019.
Oh, right.
They came back down like 18 points or something to win the game, and the Colts were fighting for a playoff spot at that point.
Yeah, I think
heartbreaking.
Leonard have a pick six or something in that game, and then
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
The South clinching scenarios: Atlanta will clinch with a win and a Bucs loss. They will be 8-9 and win the division. The Saints will clinch the division with a win and a Buccaneers loss or tie, or a Saints tie and a Bucs loss. They will also clinch a playoff berth with a Saints win, Seahawks loss or tie, and a Packers loss or tie, or a Saints tie, Seahawks loss, and Packers loss. The Bucs will clinch a division title with a win or a tie and a Saints loss or tie. Tampa will clinch a playoff berth with a Bucs tie, Seahawks loss, and a Packers loss. So easiest way in, obviously, Bucs win.
Yeah.
NFC West. This is the more exciting.
Well, you didn't tell us what the Panthers clinching scenarios were, but that's okay. Then another time.
Turn back the clock and take CJ Stroud.
That's right.
That's the quickest way you can do that. NFC. And David Tepper threw a drink on a fan. Also,
yep. He only got fined $300,000, which is like you or I being fined $3.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how much of that money went to the person who was thrown said drink upon? Yeah. Yeah.
I hope they bring a lawsuit to him, just because Tepper would have 15 lawyers at that guy's door if the roles were reversed.
It's considered assault in Florida, apparently. I think saw that somewhere. So
I made a video. We actually made a video about David Tepper, just how much I hate him and how he's just a bad owner. He replaced what's his name, Dan Snyder, as the worst owner. Just because you make money in the financial world doesn't mean you're a good football owner. Let's just say that. I would buy a team if I had enough money, though. That would just be so much fun.
Same.
Spend all the money to get players there. I'd spend billions and billions of dollars. Then I'd go broke, but the Colts would win a Super Bowl. NFC West. So the 49ers clinch the number 1 seed. They are 12-4. The Rams have clinched a playoff spot. They're 9-7. The Seahawks, I felt like they were dead, but they have a very reasonable opportunity to get in, and they also play the Cardinals. Seattle will clinch a berth with a Seahawks win and a Packers loss or tie. This would also be the second opportunity for a lowly NFC North team to knock the Packers out of the playoffs in Week 18. They can also get in with ties and a Packers loss, plus a Bucs loss or tie, or a Saints loss or tie. I think that's the most interesting scenario.
So what happens if just everybody in the NFC loses, like in the playoff picture? Because it doesn't sound.
I don't think that's possible.
Well, the Cowboys are playing the who? Eagles are playing the Commanders.
Oh, everyone that's in the playoff picture? Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting one. Let's go to the playoff machine here.
Because I just want to know how many teams would make it with a losing record. That's the question.
Let's see this one. Okay, let's look at this. Let's assume the Cardinals win, the Bears win, say the Panthers win, Vikings, Giants. Who would we say the 49 would be 49ers or Rams because they both have winning records and they are in the playoffs.
Are they playing each other?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, wah.
I would say Rams. Let's just say the Rams win that one.
Okay.
Let's say Falcons win their game and the Commanders win their game. We would have first seed San Francisco at 12-5, second seed Dallas at 11-6, seventh seed Minnesota at 8-9, sixth seed LA at 10-7, fifth seed Philly at 11-6, third seed Detroit at 11-6, and fourth seed Atlanta at 8-9. We would have a bird off. The fourth and fifth seed would be Philly and Atlanta. I love bird offs.
And the Falcons have never fared well against the Eagles in the playoffs. They've just had so many. They've had just over the years in general. So,
all the way back to Michael Vick.
Yeah, I was going to say the 2 Super Bowl years for the Eagles, they beat Atlanta on the way.
Oh, it would be the Dog Bowl, actually.
What, Michael Vick?
Really, the Dog Bowl. Not yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The Eagles and Falcons would be the Dog Bowl, not the Bird Bowl.
And Vick also played for the Steelers, so that takes me back to 2004 when you had 3 of the final 4 teams were Michael Vick teams. Anyway, but the NFC West, I mean, are the Rams, are we, you said it, Curtis, are we sleeping on the Rams? Could they make a run? Because they're, what's his name? Kylan Williams running it well. Stafford mostly avoiding the turnovers till last week. Experience, they're an underdog, which they didn't have that luxury last time, right? They were the heavy favorites, so they had to deal with expectations. Now all the expectations are on their rivals to the north, the 49ers, and they could meet again.
Yeah. I think the Rams are poised to play upset to a couple different teams. Stafford's played pretty well this season, especially considering the offensive line is kind of patchwork, and Cooper Kupp's not been available for most of the year, it feels like. But the emergence of Puka Nacua, and I think even Matt Stafford missed a couple games at some point this season. But
yeah, he did.
And they're somehow still right here, 9-7. Like, I'm not saying it's the same kind of scenario as Mike Tomlin by any means, but like, this was a team that nobody even entertained as being playoff contenders. It was the Seahawks, the 49ers, and then the Rams were rebuilding, or just kind of laying in their own filth after all the trading and money laundering they had to do to get all those players.
Right.
I mean, they were basically dead in the water, and Matt Stafford's got them playing meaningful football here in January. If you're a Rams fan, you can't ask for much more. This is playing above the pedigree that you're expecting. It's hype. Gotta love it.
Yeah, this is a very well-coached team. I think we really did forget about how good of a coach. The hell's his name? All the young coaches, I get them all mixed up. McVay. Yeah, I get him, McDermott, and like a few of the other guys all mixed together into one pot. They're a really well-coached team. I think we forgot about the value of a well-coached team and the value of a healthy Matthew Stafford. He dragged those Lions teams to like at least fighting for a playoff spot in the second to last week of the year.
Yeah.
Like those Lions teams should have gotten the first pick almost every year except for him. He was the only reason. So, I'm giving Matt Stafford his props. He gets them all the time, but I'm going to give them to him again. He deserves the flowers. So just get another vase and fill it up with water. We're giving you your flowers again, Matt Stafford.
Get ready.
I'm surprised the Seahawks are in this. Yeah. I thought the Seahawks were dead. I thought they were dead in the water. I thought their wings were ripped off from their body, but they were just broken and they're healing now. And at 8-8, very reasonable opportunity to get in. I don't think they could do anything, but they could get in and have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
The Seahawks are kind of the NFC Steelers. I mean, we said the Vikings, and they just eventually ran out of quarterbacks. But, of course, the Steelers won that battle last week. But I mean, every time you want to go to sleep on the Seahawks, they surprise you. They kind of squeaked their way in. They beat the Rams on like a last-second field goal last year in the final game to get in. And I could see them really struggling with Arizona, and they win and somebody gets knocked off. And then if you're like Detroit, for example, if Seattle ends up playing Detroit, and Seattle won there in overtime back in week 2, if Seattle ends up potentially playing the Niners, yeah, they really struggle with the Niners, but division rival. And I mean, they're just, I don't know. They're not the Legion of Boom Seahawks, but they're hard to kill off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They won't go away like a bad fungus.
Right.
That's all the teams. I do want to talk a little bit about the officiating before we jump off. So last week, Lions, Cowboys, we had a little, not a tiff, not even a tiff. It was just really bad. The Lions say they reported eligible. The referees didn't. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the Lions would have been going a little crazier. I feel like there would have been a lot more complaining if that really happened, because if the referees just up and miss that call, if I'm Dan Campbell, I'm screaming at everybody until after the game. I'm meeting with the commissioner. I'm like, you need to fix this. Our guy did the right thing. So we don't actually know what happened. Like, we have video of them going up to the official, but again, we don't know if he didn't say anything. But Bill Vinovich is one of the known refs. He had the infamous missed PI call in the Saints-Rams game. He will be the referee crew, or his crew will be on the Colts-Texans game on Saturday night. I know.
I thought it was the Ravens.
Right?
I thought it was the Ravens.
No, that is the crew that was on the Cowboy-Lions game.
Oh,
they're going to be in Ravens-Steelers.
That's what you said. Yeah, okay. You were talking about which game did Bill
Colts
do?
Bill Vinovich was the missed PI call in Saints Rams NFC Championship game.
Yeah, of course. Tommy Lewis.
Mm-hmm. Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
Tommy Lee.
So I figured I would just mention it. A little stats from that. They have been assigned to 15 games this season. One Colts game against the Panthers. 53.14% of penalties thrown by Vinovich's crew have been on the home team, like against the home team. And the visiting team has won 60% of those games, with the Colts set to be the home team this week. These are less than ideal statistics. Yes, I was reading that off an article. If you have a problem with that, I don't know. Any of the listeners have a problem with me giving accurate information? So I'm really curious how this is going to go down. This is like the second most important game of the week, besides Dolphins Bills. The fact that they would give this to this crew, I don't know why. I really don't know why.
Maybe they're trying to jumpstart a redemption arc.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. The team that probably has been impacted the least this year by the officials is the Ravens, and the key to that is you just blow everybody out, so these calls don't really matter, right? Don't play close games, and then officials can't really ruin it.
That's true. I live my life by that. If you don't make mistakes early, you don't have to worry about it. Like, if the Colts didn't fucking lose to the Browns because they gave away 20 points, we would be in the playoffs right now, probably.
That's why it's interesting you believe that. I believe if the refs don't see it, it's not illegal. That's
true too. They don't. I mean, if they don't catch it, they don't catch it.
Yeah,
that's just a part of the game.
So bring it
I just watched The Longest Yard. That reminds me. Just watch that. Apparently, it was based on a real soccer game with the Nazis. So, didn't know that one. It's interesting. Anyways, thank you all for listening. Get excited for Saturday and Sunday. This is the last week of football of this glorious regular season, at least. So get excited. Clear your schedule for the weekend, because family doesn't matter. We're also just past the holidays, so you guys probably spent all of your time with your family. So tell them, I don't want to see you guys anymore, because this Week 18 slate is going to be a monster.
Yeah.
But make sure to go to the Curtis Brown, or the Curtis Podcast Network by Curtis Brown on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, the whole thing. Make sure to go to Draft America. see Michael Seff's articles on his website. But most importantly, make sure to check out chaoticallyintolerant.com, Chaotically Intolerant on Instagram. We've had over 1.5 million impressions on Instagram in the last month. So that's very exciting. And we will see you guys next week.
Thanks for having me. See you guys.
Thank you.